Thank you all so very much for joining us for the fifth annual Youth Career and College Excellence Summit. I am Dr. Christie Murray, and I will be your illustrious host for today and tomorrow's event. We're going to kick it off now with our first session. I will be talking and sharing information on how to navigate careers in college through planning and through the whole college process in these unprecedented times. So without further ado, we're going to dig right in. So as we talk about navigating, I want you to start thinking about what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Not because you have to have it all together today, not that you have to have it perfect, but because you are deliberately thinking about it. As we pivot and change and we have to remain resilient every day through life's changes, ups and downs, how we navigate matters. And so I want to talk about some things that we're currently facing with higher education, even with careers, as we kick off this session. Whether it was 2020 when we all came home as a result of COVID. Many of you might have been in middle school or high school at the time. And remember when you got sent home and you're like, wait a minute, we're not used to learning virtually. We're used to getting up and going to class. Or if you were in college then, or you were an educator in any way or professional, and now you're pivoting and everything went virtual. So we had to shift during COVID and learn how to do things. And that was a key sign of our resilience. You're going to hear resilience a lot because it's important. And then as we shift in higher education, we know that there's a lot going on in terms of budget cuts, budget freezes, admission shifts, and who gets admitted, who doesn't get admitted, how the admission requirements are changing during these times. So you want to be mindful of some of those shifts. But also, educators themselves have been impacted by higher educational shifts. And there's certainly been financial aid and financial implications for students. If you haven't experienced it, you may experience a financial implication soon or in the future. But we want to make sure that you are well prepared for any higher education or financial shifts. And then some of you, when it comes to higher education, are at a critical crossroad. You may be at a point where you're trying to decide whether or not you want to go to college, whether you want to go into the military, go to a trade school, or become an entrepreneur or other career opportunities that you might have. So you're at a crossroad. Well, I want to make sure today we help to give you information that will help you to make a more informed decision, because the decisions you make will have long and short-term effects. So as you think about your careers, there are a lot of different things that are happening and changing the landscape of career. So even that's shifting, whether it's economic disruptions with tariffs or programs being added, programs being cut. But understanding what those economic disruptions might be to your lives and to the lives of others in your community are important. Job market shifts. Things that were high demand jobs yesterday might not be high demand jobs today or in the future. How do we talk about some of those things and your career is shifting in general? You could be a working professional like me and decide, I used to do this, now I want to do that. That's a career shift, and it's perfectly okay to shift careers. Also, we'll talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and how can we leverage artificial intelligence and other technological advancements and changes as we think about careers. Well, Dr. Christie, how does AI and careers fit hand in hand? Well, you will find out more, but AI is here to stay. And whether you love technology like I do, or you only use it for social purposes, you're going to want to pay attention to how AI and technology is accelerating changes in careers. So we will be talking about that throughout the summit. Now, one of the things I want to share with you is if you are not familiar with my books, one of the things I did years ago was I wrote two books. And the first one was called College Planning Strategies. I wish someone had told me. So in my books, I created templates, I've created strategies to help you and to equip you with resources and tools and workbook items so that it can help you to streamline what you'll have to do to prepare, not just for college, but to start to think about your careers differently too. Now, as you think about your careers, I want you to think about what are you doing today that's going to help you tomorrow. And these planning resources will absolutely help you. So throughout the next 2 days, I'll share bits and pieces for why I created these resources and how they can help you. Now, as we navigate and have a discussion on careers in college, I'm going to hit 5 key areas. We're going to talk about choosing a career or a major. How do you choose a college or a school after you choose a career? Not the other way around. You shouldn't pick a college or a school first and then hope and pray that they have your major or the program you need to study. You should, one, choose a career or major, two, choose a college or school, then put together a plan. Plan. That's number 3. Number 4 will be brand and build a scholar profile. Brand yourself and build a scholar profile. And lastly, how to apply to college or another school that you may be interested in. Even if it's not a 4-year school, some of the same strategies we'll talk about with colleges apply to community colleges, and they also apply to vocational schools. You still need to understand certain nuances to get selected for those opportunities. So we're going to dig right in. One of the more critical decisions that you'll make, or important decisions, is choosing a career or major. Now, what I don't want you to do is feel anxious, to feel worried, or to feel overwhelmed by having to decide what you want to do next. I want you to think about exploring options right now. And even if you choose a career later, as Dr. Christie already said, you can do what? You can still change or pivot, as I like to call it. Pivot one career into another opportunity later. So there's no such thing as a lost opportunity when it comes down to choosing. You don't have to have it all figured out day one, but what I would encourage you to do is at least start thinking about what you might want to do, what you might be interested in, what you might be good at, and we'll talk through some of those things. So we're going to kick it off with a little poll. So I'm going to launch a poll in just a moment. So if you could go to kahoot.it, Kahoot.it, and I'll drop it in the chat. If you go to kahoot.it and enter your name, if enter your name, and then you will get a game pin. We're going to take a brief poll because I want you to think about career readiness. So once you launch kahoot.it, I'm going to pull it up on my screen here in just a moment and give you the game pin, and we're going to get started. So stand by. All right. Hopefully you can see, host a live game here. Classic mode, start. All right, the game pin is loading. Now, if you are an adult, a parent, a guest, a student, a college student, everyone can play. This is made for everyone. So let's go ahead on and thank you, Morgan, London. Okay, hey, Zenise. All right. I'm going to drop the game pin in the chat. Excellent. I'll give it just a few more minutes. All right, Cameron, Hannah's in, Joy. Hey, Joy. London, Morgan. Welcome back, Morgan. AJ, Dion, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Junie, welcome. Lisa, welcome. All right. Do we have anyone else need more time? Raise your hand or come off mute if you need additional time. All right, Serena is in. We're going to get started. So I'm going to launch the game now. Now, it's going to pop up with questions. I think there are about 15, and they're easy to answer, and it's based on you. There's no perfect answer. The first one is just share if you're in middle school, high school, college, or if you're a working professional. Okay, so we have a lot of students in high school. We have, okay, it's great to see college students on and working professionals. Awesome. Excellent. All right, the next one. How frequently do you use artificial intelligence today at school, work, or in your personal life? Does anybody use AI? I know I do. Chat GPT, for example, and I are best friends. Okay, somewhat frequently and not at all. Frequently, there's 5 for frequently, 1 for very frequently. Okay, so you'll be my expert in the room. 5 say not at all, and some somewhat frequently. Excellent. Next question. How likely will artificial intelligence influence your career decision? Likely, somewhat likely, very likely, or not likely, or if you're not sure. Okay, there's a lot of not sure, so we'll talk about that. Some say very likely, mostly somewhat, and not likely. So we'll talk about where AI is headed and why it's important for you to know. Next question. You can pick as many as you like. Which career actions are you likely to take to get future ready? What do you feel is important for you to do to get ready? As many as you like. Five seconds. Okay, let's see what the top one was. The top one, well, there's 20, so that would be seek guidance from trusted individuals. Okay, that's great. And then there's a 3-way tie for set goals and have a plan. Also, understand your strengths, interests, values, and ambition, which is phenomenal. And then there's another tie for explore career options. So we're going to talk about some of those things. That's great to see. Next question. What is your age range? So not your exact age, but where do you fit in the spectrum? Okay, so we have 16 through 18-year-olds represented. We have 19 through 24-year-olds represented strongly. And then we have a few that are 41 and over, and 12 through 15. Oh, so we have a nice little mix of ages. So that's great to see. Next question. What grade or year are you in school? If it's not applicable, just hit the not applicable button. Okay, great. So we have 3 11th graders, 5 12th graders, 7 in college, 4 is not applicable, and 2 that are in 9th through 12th. So a lot of high schoolers. So the things that I'm sharing with you will be very, very relevant. So awesome. Next question. Who do you feel would help you the most prepare for college or your career? Okay. All right. You all said your parents help you the most. That's the reason why when I host these summits, I love to see students and parents because I know parents are right there with you, providing support, love, encouragement, and most importantly, funding. So I'm glad to see that, but also community members or professionals. But you know what's interesting? Teachers didn't rank that high. School counselors ranked a little higher, but I'm surprised they didn't come in the top 2. So that tells us that what we're doing here really does help with hosting these summits that are free and full of impactful information. Next question. How comfortable are you with choosing a career? Are you somewhat comfortable? Not very comfortable? Where are you? All right. 8 of you said very comfortable. 7 comfortable. 5 of you said somewhat comfortable, and it's very encouraging that only 1 of you said not comfortable at all. So if you're not comfortable yet, I want to make sure that we talk through some things that'll help you to get more comfortable. Next question, you can select as many as you like. How decided are you on a career or a job? Are you exploring? Where are you in the process? Are you exploring? Are you somewhat decided? Are you exploring but not decided yet? Where are you in that process? Do you need more help? Okay, so many of you said definitely decided on a career. Woohoo! I love that for y'all. Awesome. And some of you are still exploring careers and somewhat decided. Let's see. I don't have see many people who are not decided. No one said that they're not decided at all. So I'm encouraged. I thought it would be some who were just exploring but really wasn't sure. So very interesting. Next question. How concerned are you that AI will replace careers that you might be interested in? Will AI take your job? Okay. So many of you said somewhat concerned. And then others said very concerned. And then in third place, not concerned at all. And then there's one person who says, I really don't really know a lot about AI and how it's going to impact jobs. And I appreciate your honesty there too. All right, we'll talk more about AI. 11, how clear are you on your future career plan? So do you know where you want to go, where you want to go to school, what you want to major in? Do you have a good idea of what it entails? Okay, very clear. 11 of you said you're clear. 4 of you said very clear. 5 of you somewhat clear, but there was no one unclear. So again, y'all are in the right place, and that's very encouraging to see. Number 12, we're almost done. True or false? Extracurricular activities that relate to the workforce matter to employers. How does what you do now in terms of community service, volunteering, sports, other activities, how does that relate to the workforce? And does it matter to your employers? Yes, it's true. Employers want to know that you're well-rounded. Sometimes it's what you do in extracurricular activities that really help to delineate or separate you from the competition. They love to see that you've tried different things, you have different experiences, and you've developed different skills as a part of being a part of other activities. So good job. Question 13. Who do you feel will help you the least prepare for a career or college? We already did who's going to help you the most. It's your parents and community members and professionals. Who's going to help you the least, you think? All right. None of the above will help you the least. Number 9, tied for, let's see, peers. Was that peers? Peers were helping you the least. Okay. And then next to that, teachers and professors, and then 1 for school counselor or advisor. Okay. Thank you for that. Question 14. How often do you think about your career or your career choices? How often do you think about what's coming up next? Anybody thinking about it? Let's see. 10 of you said very often. 9 of you said often. And then a couple of you said, one of you said sometimes, and one said not often. So if you're not thinking about it at all, I hope it's because you're already in your dream job and you're good as a professional already. But if you are a young adult or in high school and you're not thinking about it, Dr. Christie strongly encourages you to start thinking about it today. Last question. How likely are you to choose a career if you've had more exposure, whether it's internships, whether it's other programs, whether it's volunteerism, hands-on, opportunities? What if you had those exposures before you choose a career? So you're likely to choose a career. If the 16 of you said you'd be more likely to choose a career if you had more exposure. Well, that's phenomenal to hear because we want to make sure that we talk about the ways in which you can get more exposure. So congratulations, y'all did a phenomenal job. Let's see, they have a podium. I'm not quite sure how. Zenise, Hannah, let's see, 946. Morgan, thank you all so much. Y'all must have been the top pollers. Woo woo. In our Kahoot poll. So thank you all so much for sharing on those things. So I think it's important for me to hear from y'all as we talk throughout the summit, and we have different speakers joining us and panelists joining us because we want to make sure that we touch on things that will really matter and resonate with you. Okay, for some reason, hold on one second. I still hear Kahoot playing in the background. All right, so we'll leave that and go back to the presentation. All right, let me make sure I'm sharing. So as we shift, are there any questions before I resume in our presentation? And if you, at any point, if you have questions, again, feel free to come off of mute or raise your hand and we'll be happy to answer your questions. This is meant to be interactive, so I don't really want it to be super formal. So if you want to come off of mute and say, Dr. Christie, I have a burning question about something, please definitely do so. Now, here's a few things. So I have some key things that I want to make sure I share with y'all. So we're going to speed up a little bit because I want to make sure I get a number of things in the next 30 minutes or so. But if you have questions, I also want to pause and take those. But I'm glad to hear all of you are thinking about careers because it's important. What you choose is really your decision. And so you can pivot in different ways. We've talked about it. But every career, no matter if you go to the military, you decide to go to college or not go to college, will involve continuous learning. So the good news is you get to learn. The bad news is you get to learn. So depending on where you are, if you're the kind of person who loves to learn and understand new things and take on new challenges and you're inquisitive, great. If you're the kind of person who thinks, haha, when I graduate from high school, I'm done with education. I have some bad news. No, you're not. Everything you do will involve learning, whether you're in high school, college, or if you are a working professional, you will still have to learn and continue to learn throughout your life. Just imagine the reality of someone in a critical position who thought education doesn't matter. Why do I have to learn that stuff? Just let me go and do what I like to do. Imagine you roll up to the dentist office and they recline back your dentist chair. They put the nice little bib on you and they're going to do a teeth cleaning. And then you find out that your dental hygienist decided they didn't really like education. They weren't going back to school. They were not going to get any more training. They weren't going to get any refresher training to do what they do even better. When technology changes, when dentistry tools and x-rays and medicine and all those things advance, they're like, who wants to take the time to learn all that stuff again? I learned it 20 years ago. That should be good enough, right? Wrong. So if you can't imagine a reality of people in key professions like a doctor or a lawyer or a civil engineer building a bridge that you have to drive across, if you can't think of a reality where they can stop learning, then I want you to shift your mindset that you too have to be in the driver's seats of continuous education too. So the good news is, as you're thinking about what you learn, what your career will be, you can change it. You can pivot, as we've talked about, at any point, whether you're in high school, college, or as a professional. And you do have different options. So you don't have to just choose one thing. During COVID, my sons, and you'll hear me talk about them from time to time, I have two sons who are currently in college, just like some of you, and they came home during COVID as college students. And during COVID, I found they had too much free time. So I challenged them to start their own business. So now they're college students and they're entrepreneurs. So don't let anyone tell you that you can only do one thing and only one thing at a time. You can do more than one thing well at a time. So I want you to think about, as we think about exploring careers, and some of you've already identified that you are exploring careers. I want you to think about careers in four areas. Focus on you. Know yourself. What are your values? What's important to you? You want to work somewhere where there's transparency, people are honest, people care about the community, they have social responsibility. Those kind of things are values. What about your interests? Do you mind working indoors, or do you want to work outdoors, or do you want to work with animals or people? Or maybe you don't want to do people, maybe you want to do computers, whatever those things are. Then think about what you're good at. What are your strengths? What are your traits? What are the things you know to be true about you? And be honest with yourself. And then what are your ambitions? Do you want to own your own dentistry practice? Do you want to become an attorney? Do you want to become a Supreme Court judge? Think broad and big and be ambitious, but think about those things now so you can position yourself later. Then I want you to explore your different options. Whether it's should you do research on each college or university or careers that you're thinking about? What are the trends in the industry? And if you're paying attention to industry trends, that's where artificial intelligence comes in, because it is so rapidly changing and accelerating how we look at careers. That's an industry trend, for example. Will careers look the same as they did 5 years ago? How will they look in 10 years? Those are the kind of things you should be thinking. And then what are your career options, and what are the different degrees that it takes or education for that career? Because not every career requires you to go to a 4-year college. Then get focused. Get focused. Think about it. You have to narrow it down once you've done the research, make a decision, set goals, and put a plan in place. Once you put a plan in place, you want to take action. Connect with people who can help you, search for opportunities, and get experience. Many of you just said that if you have more experience and exposure, that would help you figure out what you want to do next. So, one of the key things, and this is a very important area, highly would recommend that you do your research. Research careers, go online, talk to people that you know, find out what they do, what they love and what they don't love. Then research colleges and schools. Who has the programs? What kind of education and training do you need? Do you need a certification? Do you need a license to practice? What does it take to get into that profession? And then look for jobs. I highly recommend. How many of y'all, when you're looking for career opportunities now, raise your hand or drop a yes in the chat if you're also looking at job opportunities. What does it take to get hired for that job? Anyone? What does it take to get hired? And also, let me know if it's a yes if you're thinking, what's the salary range? Good, Zenise. Okay, Junie. Okay, excellent. You all should be thinking about those things. Serena, exactly, Cameron. You want to be thinking, how do I get my foot in the door to get hired? What do they require? How much is the salary range? If I start out today in 5 years, 10 years, what can I anticipate making? And then if you're going to go to college, or if it requires you to get formal training or education, how much is even that going to cost you? So you want to know these things early as you're thinking about a career, so that you're not blindsided or surprised on the back end. And then you also want to make sure that you understand all the requirements to get the education. So if they require you to have a 2-year degree, 4-year degree, a certification, those are things we've talked about. You want to make sure you're researching while you're choosing a career. Then there are some great career assessment tools. So if you're someone who you know that there's 5 different things you're interested in, but you need a little help narrowing it down, or if you have no clue at all, it's okay. Do not feel anxious if you don't have any idea what you want to do yet. Use a career tool. There's a lot of great online tools, and I'm going to introduce you to one to help give you more insight. Now, here's one called Get My Future. There's a QR code and there is a link. Now, this you're going to see again. If you're applying for one of my scholarships later today, I would encourage you to take this assessment. Let me see if I can drop it in the chat for you too. Let me stop sharing for a second and grab the QR code. But here's the value of this assessment. It will give you great insights. It's like 30 easy questions. And all you will simply do is share things about yourself, your interests, your goals. It may ask you what you're great at doing. And once you do that, it will spit you out some great career matches for specifically designed for you. So once you go to careeronestop.org/get my future, it'll pop up here, and then you can say, I want to find a career I like. So you'll hit that find a career, and then you will walk through and it will ask you 30 questions, and they go really quick. It shouldn't take you more than 5 to 7 minutes, if that. You can do it now, you can do it later on. But one of the things I'll ask you to do is share your results as a part of your scholarship application if you apply. And what it'll do is you'll tell it what you like, tell it what you don't like, and then it will show you careers that they think will be a great fit for you. How easy is that? So you put it in and it'll share information out. And all you do is put in the check. It's smiley faces. So if it's something like, do you like building kitchen cabinets? If you do, then you'll have a strong smiley face. If not, you'll have a strong dislike frowny face. So it's really simple to use. I did it and it was really close to a lot of the things that I'm doing now and I enjoy doing. So there's a lot of truth to what that is. And then once you're finished, you'll get a report. It'll give you what your score means. So there's like 6 different interest areas: R, I, A, S, E, and C. You can look those up. It'll give you your best career matches on the right. And it'll tell you about how much they make an hour, what kind of education requirements. So it's a great way to get a lot of information about careers in one easy place. So I want to introduce y'all to that career assessment. Once you've taken the assessment, and this isn't just for today, but in general, look at your results and think about which ones really resonated with you, which ones you might want to explore and do more research on, and or make a list of those careers that stuck out to you. Oh, let me look more into this one, this one, this one, and this one. And then find out, what are the education requirements? Do you need to go to a 4-year school or don't you? Those sort of things. And then you can really pivot and put together a solid career plan just tailored to you, not anybody else, but you. And then talk to people about their experiences in those areas. So if I wanted to be a dentist, for example, and I go to the dentist, because hopefully you go and if you get your teeth cleaned, that's a great opportunity to ask your dentist a question. You're already there. Why not? So what do you really like about your job? When you were a kid, did you think you were going to be a dentist? You get to decide what you ask, and they will be more than happy to answer your questions. Now, as we navigate today after this session, you're going to hear from some phenomenal career professionals. This would be a great time to ask them questions. And I'm hoping y'all will come off of mute because they would love to engage with y'all personally. So I will ask them a few questions to kind of lay the foundation and then kind of warm up the room. But I also want to encourage y'all to come off of mute, raise your hand and ask them a question and thank them for joining. But here's some things you can ask. What do you enjoy the most about your job, or the least? What kind of education, skills, or training did you need to do this job? What is your salary range? Now, the reason why I always do a range is because sometimes people don't always feel comfortable telling you exactly how much they make. But if they say, oh, I make between 150 and 100 and 200,000 a year, that gives you a good idea. That's good enough for me to understand and get a sense. Or if they say I make between 50,000 to 75,000 a year, that gives you a range and an idea too. Then these are some really good questions to ask people when you're talking to them about what they do, not just at the summit, but in your everyday environments, community, school, church, wherever you are. How did you get connected with this opportunity? Who helped you? That's a good question to ask people. Who helped you? The other thing you can ask them is, what opportunities do you have for internships, summer jobs, scholarships? So those are opportunities that they can help you with. And who do you know? I'm interested in this and I need help with that. Who do you know that can help me? A lot of successful people get to where they need to be because of relationships and their willingness to ask and seek out help. But you want to ask for help in a way that gets you what you need. So asking who do you know, what do you know, and what opportunities you have are great ways to do it. Has anybody had an experience with that? Anybody want to share an experience of asking for help like that and actually getting the help you needed? If so, come off of mute and share. I just need one person to share. Nobody's had help?
I can go.
Thank you,
So,
Lilani.
hi.
Hi.
So I mentioned to a guy at my church, well, like that I'm interested in engineering and being a biomedical engineer. And he ended up mentioning that he works for the government doing engineer work and that he will hope like next summer to find me an internship there. And he didn't even know that was like a passion that I have. But after mentioning it, he was like, "Oh yeah, I can definitely find you like an internship working like in engineering to help you like build like your interest and your knowledge in that field." It's a great way to like, I guess, keep moving, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And I heard a couple of key things. She knew what she was interested in: engineering, internships, scholarships, those kind of things. And then also, she mentioned to someone, she spoke with someone, and they were able to connect her. So I want you to get in the practice of sharing what it is that you want to get help with and ask. People are willing to help you. Now, as we move into the second topic, I want to remind you that if you're interested in applying for any of Dr. Christie's scholarships today, you'll have to have your cameras on and be willing to engage. I see a lot of cameras off, and my trusty assistant, Miss Cassandra, please take note that we have individuals who are not on camera. If you need to get camera ready, please do so. If you have your camera off, but you have a picture of you, that won't work. It has to be your camera on, and you have to actively participate. So, all right, we're going to go to the next section. Now, I also want to share with you choosing the right college or school matters. So, do your research. We've already talked about that. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, how many colleges or schools should I have on my list? I would recommend five. Some go up to 10, but five is a sweet spot because it gives you the opportunity to choose schools with different criteria or uh, different, I would say, factors that matter to you, whether it's the cost or another factor. So consider creating a list, whether you want to work on a certificate or certification or college. Make sure you have and choose a school that fits your personality. And you should choose your major first, then a school or a college, because that research is going to tell you where to go to pick a college. Consider the affordability of the school. And also, if you have an opportunity to visit colleges, anybody been on any college visits? Raise your hand. You can just raise your hand if you've been on any college visits. If great, Zanice has. Excellent. So those college visits are critical because they help you to understand if you like the campus, if it's too big, too small, if you like the ratio of the student to teachers, you can ask great questions. If you're a fit, Joy's raised her hand. Great. And I think visiting schools, whether it's in person, and nowadays they have virtual 360 tours you can take to get a sense of the colleges too. So those are excellent to know that there's different ways you can visit colleges. And then rank the colleges based on where you might want to attend, whether they have your degree programs, whether you like the campus size, whether you want a school that offers in-person learning and virtual or blended learning. So know what's important to you as you're picking a school. Now, one of the templates that I have for college planning is this phenomenal list. It's simple but easy to use. It shares with you and it gives you the ability to list out all the colleges or schools you're interested in and document all the requirements in one place. So as you can see, you can pick the college, where it's located, how much the tuition is, whether it requires you to have a GPA or SAT score, all those things, if there's an application fee. But it's very important to track all of those details in one place. And I have templates that'll help you to do it. Now, once you choose a college or career, know that a couple of things. Not every career requires you to go to a 4 year school. You can choose the military. You can choose an apprenticeship option where you earn money while you learn. So you can go work and they'll pay you to get educated while you learn. So check out and research apprenticeships. But know that there's over 2,000 colleges and universities in the US. So you do not have to solely pick one school because you heard it was a great school, but it's really not affordable for you. Dr. Christie will always tell you choose schools that you can afford. Does it make sense if you can't afford a $60,000 a year school to make that the only school you apply for? Absolutely not. Be flexible about where you go to school so that you can graduate from school and not stress yourself out trying to figure out every semester how to come up with $30,000 and your parents are stressed. Lanice, do you have a question? Oh, okay. Your hand is raised from earlier. Okay. And feel free, if you have a question, do raise your hand or come off mute, and I'm happy to pause and answer your question. But there are a lot of colleges, so don't feel pressured to only choose one school because you heard it was great. There's a lot of fantastic schools out there, and I want you to choose several that give you some different options to make a good decision. Now, you can also choose a vocational school or trade school to get a new skill or a new trade, whether it's cosmetology, becoming an electrician, HVAC plumber, dental hygienist, and so much more. You can get licensed, you can get certified, you can get a certificate. And a lot of students are choosing that route because it doesn't take a lot of time to get a vocational trade school education. It takes maybe 1 to 2 years versus 4, and they can start working and they can always go back to school if they want to. I'm going to pause. Corinne, do you have a question?
Yes, just a quick question. For the templates that you're talking about, where will we be able to like get them or access them?
I will share that with you in just a few minutes. That's a really great question. But they're on my website. So I'll make sure that they're available to you on my website. That's a great question. Biani, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Hi, my name's Briani. I just had a quick question because I know what career path I want to do, but it's kind of difficult to choose a college because since my dad was in the military, me and my brother get to apply to any college in Virginia without any fees or without paying for it. So it's
Love
just
that
hard
for you.
to find a certain career, or I know what career I want, just to find a college that will help me since I'm so limited to the
State of Virginia.
colleges. Yeah.
What's your career you're considering?
I would like to be an aeronautical engineer.
Okay. All right. Aeronautical engineer. So, and we'll touch on how to do research because and Brianna's situation is not unique. And I love the fact that you can go to school for free. I love a great quality, but free education. So that's great to hear. And so, what I would encourage you to do, have you done a simple Google search and say aeronautical engineering programs in Virginia?
I have also, I was talking to my mom and her boss, her son or daughter is an aeronautical engineer, and he has told me that Virginia Tech is a really good school to go to, but also I've heard that the acceptance rate is like kind of iffy. Also, it's just that my parents want me to go to two different schools. Like my mom would prefer me to go to Virginia Tech, but my dad would want me to go to University of Mary Washington. So
Okay.
just like I don't know which one to choose.
So So thank you for sharing those things. So I'm going to touch on some things that you're kind of exploring because you're not alone. And thank you for having the courage to share your situation because there are others who are, trying to do some more research and find out what their opportunities are too. So one, I want you to, you certainly want to respect your parents and you want to be mindful of their input. But the one question, and you don't have to answer it now, Briani, but what school do you want to go to? Because there's what mom wants to do, what dad wants you to do, and then there's what you have to decide for you with their guidance in a respectful way. But you're going to have to be there for 4 years, aeronautical engineer, and I'm an electrical engineer by background, so I get it. I went to Hampton University. You're going to have to be in all the math and science classes. You're going to have to enjoy the campus life. So I would say visit them all if you haven't already and let your parents know that, you'd like the opportunity to decide based on what's a good fit for you. And because you're going to have to do the work. So as much as I love, and I have two sons in college, so I get it. I have great visions and dreams for my sons, but I also want them to feel comfortable making decisions that are going to be in their best interest and that they're going to enjoy being in those spaces for 4 years. Nothing is worse than your parents picking a school and you absolutely hate it and they're not the ones there on the campus. So
Also, because since I'm with the Boys and Girls Club, they did take us to see Howard and Nova. So I was talking to my mom since if I didn't really want to go to Virginia Tech, I was planning on doing like 2 years at Nova and then 2 years at Virginia Tech, kind of deciding on what, but I don't know. It honestly just depends on how high school goes. So,
well, here's what I recommend. Apply to all of them. Apply to Howard, apply to University of Mary Washington, Virginia Tech, and Nova. And so one of the things I want y'all to do, because all of them have pros and cons. Once you get, and we'll talk about the financial implications in this afternoon session, but money matters when you're picking a school too. In your case, yours will likely be covered, but in a lot of your cases, you'll need to apply for financial aid. So as you're thinking about where you want to go, what's going to give you the most affordable opportunity to, but also has your major and career. So that's where all this great research we're talking comes in. So do know that there's the vocational trade schools. There's a 2-year community college, which Briani mentioned, potentially going to Nova and then transferring into a 4-year college, which you can do as well. The benefit of going to a 2-year community college first is it's much more affordable. You can cut down on a lot of your general classes at a community college and then still transfer into your school of your dreams and cut down on how much it'll cost. So those are different options that I want you to be mindful of. Also, know the difference between a public and a private school. Briani mentioned Virginia Tech. She mentioned University of Mary Washington. And she mentioned other schools like Howard. Public schools are usually funded by the federal and state government. They're usually larger than private schools. They usually have like an in-state and out-of-state tuition rate. And then out-of-state students usually pay more to go to those public schools because they don't live in that state. Now, on the other side, you have private colleges. This is where you have the Howard universities, the Hampton universities, and others. They don't get the predominant of their funding from federal and state governments. They get some, but not all. And so because they don't receive all their funding from the federal and state government, they're considered private. And they do not have an in-state and an out-of-state tuition rate. They just have one. You just pay a flat tuition, whether you live in the state of Virginia and it's in Virginia, a Virginia school, or if you're out of state, it's one rate. Now, I also want you to know that private schools generally are more costly than public schools. So when you're thinking about choosing a career major, and then you're thinking about, do I want to go to a Howard versus a Virginia Tech or a Howard versus a community college, for example, you want to think, how much is it going to cost me to get the same education? Also, there's all kind of phenomenal schools, whether you decide, and it's your choice, whether you want to go to a predominantly white institution. They're usually larger in nature. They certainly comprise 50% or more of their students are white students. All students go to PWIs, as I refer to them. They have great educational opportunities. They can be both public and private. And each year, over more than 9 million students attend PWIs. They offer a quality and affordable education. And then there are HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, like the Howard Universities, the Morgan States, the Hampton University, my alma mater, etc. They've been around for over 200 years. And at a time in our American history where African Americans had a difficult time getting into other institutions, HBCUs emerged. Today, there's over 100 HBCUs, and more than 228,000 students attend HBCUs each year. Again, they can be public and private as well. And you can still, don't ever let anybody tell you can't get a quality education and an affordable education from an HBCU. It's really about your preferences. So I have seen phenomenal professionals I've had the privilege of working with over my career who went to all kinds of colleges and institutions. So do your research and do what matters to you. Then put together a plan. I can't stress this enough. Have a plan. Make sure your plan that you create is simple, but it's clear and effective. It doesn't have to be complicated, but list out. If you're a freshman in high school, it's never too early to start. List out what should you do your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year. Put it on your plan, and every year you update it with your parents. And as you hit your senior year, when those college applications and SAT prep courses and all those things kick in your junior and senior year, put the cost on your plan so your parents are not surprised. Now, if you're in the 8th and the 10th grade through the 10th grade, there's a lot of things Dr. Christie recommends that you're doing. As you're preparing to consider and explore careers, you should be thinking about keeping your grades up, getting involved, making a list of who could be recommenders for you when you hit your junior and senior year, and more. And these will be included in the slides that I share with you too. So I will share all of these timelines with you. If you are a junior, you should be gearing up to take the SATs this upcoming year. You should be researching colleges and careers more seriously. You should be getting your financial landscape in place and thinking about who's going to write your letters of recommendation. And for my rising seniors, shout out to you if you're a rising senior. I want to make sure that you're also preparing for your senior year. So a lot of things I cover definitely impacts you. You should have narrowed down your colleges and your careers. You should be understanding which colleges and what their admission requirements are. Know how to get your official transcripts this fall, as soon as school starts. Make sure you and your parents know how to order your transcripts. You should be writing essays and more. Who's going to write your letters of recommendation? You should have a list of at least 4 or 5 people, both teachers, professors in your school, but also community leaders who can write you letters. And then you should be tracking your college acceptances on a spreadsheet, and we'll talk about tracking your scholarship and financial aid as well. So those are things we're going to talk more about. Next, I want to briefly cover branding. One of the key things that will be important for you to do is brand yourself and build a scholar profile. Your brand is really how you show up. When you are not in a room, it's really a matter of how are people going to talk about you when you're not around? How you show up matters in 4 or 5 different ways. In person, when you are there, whether you're on an interview, you're in a class, on a job, on paper. Maybe you submitted an application for employment or scholarship or college or an internship. Your paper will represent you when you're not in the room. Online, your social media presence. How do you show up on LinkedIn or Instagram or Snapchat? Are you doing things that you know your parents wouldn't approve of, or saying things that you know is going to hinder you from getting future opportunities? Manage yourself today like you are your own personal brand and protect it at all costs. Now, when you do that, you'll find that when you're not in the room, this is what people will say about you. You have a positive attitude. Oh, she's balanced, or he has self-discipline. He sets the example. He has great leadership. He's respectful. She's respectful. She communicates well. Those are things that will help separate you from everyone else. So this is the time moving forward. See yourself as a brand and protect your brand at all costs. As you protect yourself and see yourself as a brand, Dr. Christie recommends you build a scholar profile. How many of you on here, if you've been to my summits before, or if you've been with the Boys and Girls Club or Center of Transformation, any of those spaces, you already have a scholar profile, am I right? If you do, just drop me a yes in the chat. How many of you have a scholar profile? Anybody wants to come off of mute and share, just one person and share what a scholar profile is?
I can say it.
Sure.
A scholar profile is basically like, it's kind of like a profile that's like all the stuff that you've done throughout the years that will help you towards like scholarships or will help you towards college in general. And I know I have one because I was in Youth of the Year, and
Wonderful.
I definitely had to write a lot of resumes and a lot of stuff, but I know that it would help me build a scholar profile. So that's why it's important, because it will open you up to more opportunities and to meet better people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So exactly. Some people call it a one-page resume, a brag sheet, a self-reflection. But really, it's a one-page document that tells the story of who you are. And it shares and it gives information so people know how to help you. It may have some of these sections. You might have a picture, your address, objectives about what you want to do in the future, what colleges you might be considering, your current educational profile, any honors or awards, employment experience, community service, extracurricular activities. And here's the benefits. You can use your scholar profile when you're applying to colleges. You can attach it with the college application. Applying for scholarships, you can attach it to a scholarship application. You can use it for recommenders. You can give it to them and have them write your letter of recommendation with a lot more information about you than they would have otherwise had. Whether you are writing your own essay, you can go back and refer to it and remember what you've done in the past. And it can easily migrate over into a professional employment resume later on. So you want to make sure that if you do not have one, highly encourage you to build it. And here's the link to building the Scholar profile. So if you go to my website or use the QR code, you can build your own. When it's built, it's a simple Microsoft Word document. You can tailor it. I would highly recommend that you pay attention to misspelled words, typos, make sure it's formatted well, especially if you're applying for one of my scholarships. I will be looking at your scholar profile to see how well it's put together. Don't put dummy information in. And if something doesn't apply to you on here, remove it. So if you know you don't have any community service yet, for now, you can take the category off completely and just add it back when you have that experience. But this is going to help you to tell your story when you're not in the room. That's one way you can brand yourself. Once you're created for the first time, look at it and say, I really have a lot going on great in these areas, but I notice I don't have any community service. Look for gaps. So then you want to spend this next academic year closing those gaps. Volunteer, get a job, join a club or activity or extracurricular organization, but close the gap so that you can be well-rounded. And then, like I had my sons do when they were in high school, they update their scholar profile every summer and every winter break. That way it's fresh in their mind what they just finished. Now, if you include your scholar profile with a college application or a scholarship application, only do so if they say they accept additional documents. Do not include it if they don't accept additional documents. Now, I also want to bring your attention to this last segment. So you've picked a career, you picked a college, you've developed your brand, you now have your scholar profile outlined. I also want you to think about applying to colleges. Most college applications have at least 4 to 5 parts. The application itself, you'll need your official transcripts, your essays, letters of recommendation, and or test scores. Now, many entities right now, tests are optional and you don't necessarily need it, but Dr. Christie still recommends that all high school students, take the SAT and or ACT. When should you apply for college? In the fall of your senior year, not the spring, the fall. Most colleges give their best admissions because now admissions is very competitive in this market. So apply early. I recommend somewhere between September and December. The earlier you have your package together, the better because you'll get a decision a lot quicker. And most schools give out their best financial aid on a first come, first served basis. So those students who apply first and then apply for their financial aid will get the best packages than those who wait till the spring. There's no reason to wait till the spring unless there's a really, really good reason to do so. So when you're applying, there's different ways you can apply. Early decision, you can apply early action, or you can apply just regular admissions. But both of those, I highly recommend early action because that's usually that window between September to December, which is the main one that I'm referring to, because you can apply to as many schools as you want early action and you'll get a decision back usually in December, early January. If you wait until January to apply, you're not going to know until like March or April which schools have accepted you. Now, there's a couple of apps you can use that I love to talk about. The Common App. How many of you have heard of the Common App? Well, I'm listing it here. You can apply to more than one college with the Common App. And you can also do the same with the Common Black College app. So if you're applying to HBCUs, you have both of these tools and resources. You can research colleges with these apps, and you can apply to colleges through one portal, and it'll allow you to apply to multiple colleges. Now, I also want to touch on your transcripts. Very important, my seniors. Know the process to get your transcripts before you need them. Your transcripts could be the bottleneck to a school looking at your application because they're not going to assess your application until you have all of those items covered and submit it. And they have to receive it for your package to be considered complete before they're going to review your packages. And then also know that you'll need essays and letters of recommendation. You'll need essays and letter recommendations for both college admissions. What does it take to get accepted into the college, but also for scholarships? Most people don't share the distinction between the two. You're not going to have the same letter of recommendation that says, hi, I strongly encourage or recommend that Christie get admitted into your college versus I strongly recommend that you give Christie your scholarship money. So make sure when you're talking to recommenders, you're differentiating which type you want. In the next segment, when I talk about funding and financial aid this afternoon, I will touch more on essays in that segment. So if you have essay questions, I highly recommend that you save those for that part. But I do want to mention that letters of recommendation are important. And if you have an opportunity, draft your own letter of recommendation. Dr. Christie has templates for you on my website, in addition to my books, and there are workbooks as well and the templates. But draft your own letter of recommendation. And I'm going to wrap up this segment, and I'm going to pick on one of my guests for just a moment, one of my adult guests in the audience. Let's see who is here. Miss Cassandra, you there?
I sure am.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining. If I was a student and I said, hi, Miss Cassandra, my name is Christie and I was in your English 11 class. I'm a senior now and I would love for you to write a letter of recommendation for me. Here's my scholar profile, which is my one-page resume that tells you about my past and my academics. And I've taken the liberty of drafting a letter of recommendation for you to consider and tailor to your liking. Miss Cassandra, how willing would you be to write a letter of recommendation for a student?
110%.
110%, yes. And so that is the value. And I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, that's more work for me. But the more work you're willing to put in and the easier it will be for your recommenders, you'll be the ones to get your recommendation letters back the fastest. So the last thing I'm going to share with you today, as my time comes to an end, as you're considering applying to college, as I mentioned, take the SAT and ACT. Many schools will tell you you don't need the SAT and ACT to apply and get accepted into college, But what they don't tell you is that some schools still use those scores to give out merit scholarship funds. I have a plenty of brilliant students with over 3 and 4.0 GPAs who receive $0 from universities with high GPAs because they never took the test. So Dr. Christie strongly encourages you to go and visit the ACT and SAT, know the differences between the tests, and they'll be in my slides. But also, there's all kind of upcoming test dates for my seniors. So if you want to take the SAT, go to collegeboard.org. There are dates coming up in August and September and October that you want to get in. If you're going to be applying to colleges this fall, you need to have taken these tests September, October at the latest. And also for the ACT, if you go to act.org, those dates will be in the slides for you as well. All right, so that concludes what I'm going to share in my segment. I'm going to have to fast forward to my giveaway. So I'm going to end my segment by asking a question. You have to raise your hand.
Dr. Christie, I have a question.
Okay, hold that for just 1 second. Who's that speaking? I'm sorry, I don't see who's asking.
My name is Lanice. I'm a parent.
Okay, Lanice, hold that question for 2 seconds. I'll get back with you in 2 seconds. I want to do my giveaway first, and then I will get to Miss Lanice's question. So students, if you could raise your hand, I'm going to try to watch to see the first hand that comes up and answer this question. Who can tell me the difference between a public college and a private college? Zanice, yes, ma'am.
Hello everyone. My name is Denise. But I wrote it down. Give me a second. So a public college is funded by the government and they have an in-state and out-of-state tuition. And then a private college is somewhat funded by the government, and then they have the same, flat rate tuition for both in and out-of-state students.
That is correct. Woo, woo, woo. All right, Miss Denise. You will receive a copy of my college planning strategies book, and the workbook templates will be made available to you electronically. And Zanice, I think you may actually have that already, that set, if I'm not mistaken.
I do have it.
Okay, well, I will work with you offline to offer up another giveaway to you.
Okay.
And I'll touch base with you offline.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go back real quick to Miss Lanice for your question.
Thank you. So my question has to do with you mentioning taking the SAT, ACT to get merit. Now, I was told by someone who tutors for the SAT that if the score isn't as high as you would like at a test optional school, even though it's a good score but not extremely high, don't submit the score when you apply. Rather, wait till you're admitted and then submit the score. What are your thoughts about that?
I certainly would recommend that. If your score is not as high as you would like, in that instance, you can retake the test again and submit your score again. And sometimes you can take the best math score, best English score, for example, and they will take the best scores from all the tests you've taken. So I highly recommend you taking again. I've had cases where parents would encourage their teens to take the test again to get access to merit scholarship funds, and it's worked out to their favor. So that's actually a really good strategy.
So once you do that and you submit the score, even if it's like you're done taking it because you've taken it multiple times after you get admitted, you submit the score. Do you just have it submitted via the Common App, or do you reach out to the school and say, hey, my scores were submitted. Am I eligible? Do you ask at that point, am I eligible for any merit scholarships or anything like that?
When you submit your SAT scores, when you go into the collegeboard.org, for example, you have to select which schools you want your scores automatically sent to. So you don't necessarily have to go back through the college board, the college Common App, to do it. You would go through the SAT site where you registered to take it, or the ACT, and you would put the school code in, and they will automatically send the scores to the college. And if you want them to send all sets of scores, they will send them. Most colleges, I would highly recommend you follow up with the college or university and make sure you understand their process for considering merit scholarship and those test scores for those purposes, and validate and verify that they have your actual SAT scores that they're going to use for consideration. So definitely check with the school because every school has a different process for awarding merit scholarships. Make sure when you're taking the SAT and ACT test that you designate the schools and universities that you want to get your test scores. And then you can always go in and add them in later if you don't want to do it right away. But you can go in and add and update your SAT results and have them sent to schools in the future. Those are really great questions.
Thank you for that. And the last thing is you encourage the student to reach out to the school or more so the parent, because I know that
Yes
we're
and
trying
yes.
to make them, be productive adults in the world, giving them a little push from the back. But do you recommend having the student do it or the parent?
Yes and yes. And I say it that way because parents, and this is a very good point as we segue into the next session. This is not the time to only to get in the back seat of the car as your young adults are driving. You want to be riding shotgun in the front seat along the way with them, because one of my experiences as a mother, and putting on my mother hat for a moment, my son is a senior in college, and I just got off the phone with his school last week because he was not getting the support he needed in an expeditious manner. So I highly recommend that parents call with their young adults and their teens present, because it's a great way for them to learn how to have those conversations. But don't leave them out there solo to have those conversations, because they may not know the right questions to ask to weed through. At times it could be difficult and challenging, conversations and nonsense, but I would say do it together and make sure at the end of the day that you get the information you need and your teens get the information they need the first time around. Because there are times when you do get varying and conflicting guidance, and always, both parents and students write down when you talk to somebody, who you talk to, and what time you talk to them, and the nature of the conversation. I have saved myself so much heartache with my sons in school because we always walked away with being able to recall who told us what. Very important. I'm going to go to, I saw Joy. Do you still have a question? Did I see your hand up earlier? Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
So my school,
Can you speak up slightly?
they have this test called so my school offers a test called the ASVAB. It's a really interesting acronym. It's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. So do you think that test would be like valuable to colleges?
I think the ASVAB could be valuable to, the ASVAB is generally a military test. If you're seeking entry into the military and they're looking to understand your aptitude and how to place you in terms of careers and different specialist kind of roles in the military. I've seen it where if you're, for example, if you're interested in going to college and being in the military ROTC, that could come into place for if you want to get a military ROTC role or scholarship, which is a great way to go to college. Or if you decide you don't want to go to college and you want to enlist directly into the military, then they generally will ask you to take that test at some point throughout the process. So that may be a great opportunity to take it. If it's offered in high school, there's no downside to taking it in high school. Thank you. Next, Lilani, I see your hand raised.
Hey, sorry about that. My question involves, earlier you touched on sending your scores directly to the schools. Are you talking about in application process or just sending them straight to the schools as soon as you get them?
So when you sign up and register for the SAT and ACT, You're going to give them all your information. You're going to tell them which test date you want to take the test. And as a part of paying for it, they're going to ask you, hey, Leilani, which schools do you want us to send your results to when they're available? You can choose schools then. So that's why it's always helpful to know which colleges you want to apply for. And Dr. Christie says make a list of the schools. So you can pick Howard, Virginia Tech, University of Maryland, and they will automatically send your scores to the schools as soon as your test scores are available. When you apply online for the university applications and the Common App, by that point, your test scores may already be at the school, depending on when you apply. So you don't necessarily need to send them with the application unless your application instructions tell you to provide them again.
Okay, got it. I'm taking it through my school, but my school can do the same thing, right?
Yes, ma'am. And make sure that you understand how your scores will get sent if you're taking it through the school. So ask that question as you're preparing to take the test.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I see Miss, is it Kalia Griffin?
Yes, ma'am. My question was if my GPA would have
I can hardly hear you, dear. Sorry.
I was asking if my GPA were to be a little bit lower than the exact requirement, what other parts of my application would help it stand out?
Good question. So if you have a lower GPA than what you might desire, your other parts of your package, your scholar profile, your letters of recommendation, most importantly, your essay writing needs to be strong. We're going to talk about essay writing this afternoon, but that's the next best change. And right now in this competitive market, your essay is going to differentiate you from every other student, whether they have a 4.0 or not. So you want to make sure you have a compelling essay in that instance. Great question.
Thank you.
Marianne, Miss Lisa.
Hi, good morning. So I wanted to ask earlier, Miss Lanice, one of the parents asked this question, and I'm not sure I understood the response. So I'm gonna kind of maybe piggyback on what she asked, since there were a couple students that asked about submitting the SAT scores. So tracking that sometimes students will not get the desired score they want. And if they've taken it 3 or 4 times, maybe they feel this is as high as they're going to get. If they choose to not submit it with the application and wait and submit it after they've been accepted to the school to see if they will still qualify for merit-based scholarships, is that a strategy that you would recommend? Because the concern may be if I submit it with my application, it could be used as a discriminator to not accept me into the college.
So every college is different. I'll tell you what I've seen happen in practice. I have seen students with 4.0s not submit any test scores with their college application. And many times, merit scholarship decisions come out at the time in which they award you, they select you for college. So, my first premise is if you're not a senior right now and you can take the SAT, if you are a junior or sophomore, it's not too early for you to schedule it, take it, refine it, prep, take it again. So if you have the time, the best ideal case is to submit your scores when you apply, because a lot of colleges and universities will send you a congratulations, you've been accepted into Hampton University, and we're going to give you $10,000 in merit scholarship. What happens when you wait and you wait and you wait, and you can wait, then other students are going to get that money because they've submitted theirs when they applied, and you're going to get what's left if there's anything left. But if you're in the instance where you know my math score was strong, but my English score was weaker, I'm going to retake it. Then if you decide, it's really a personal decision. If you decide to wait, go ahead and apply now and get your financial aid started, and that part in the place, and know which schools you're selected into. But make sure you find out from the university if they'll allow you to submit test scores later for consideration for merit scholarship. If they say, yes, we'll take those later, certainly retest as many times as they allow you to, because they're going to take the best of each subject As many times as you take it, you can take the math part 5 times. They're going to take the best math score you submitted and the best science and best English. So I hope that's a little clearer, Miss Marianne.
Yeah.
But Dr. Christie says submit a strong package, do the prep work early, and then take the test. If you're a junior, and this is important, and I apologize for running over, but if you are a sophomore or junior, my best guidance is to take both the SAT and the ACT test, see which one you test the best at, and then get in a prep course and fine tune your testing capabilities. And right after the prep course, take it again. That's going to give you your best test results. And I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. It did.
You're welcome.